Hi, this is Akiko from crystalandakiko.com, and today we're going to be making a really neat origami Christmas tree card. It's a really fun, easy to do card. Now this is my old olive cardstock, 8.5 by 11, just cut in half, and I'm going to fold it in half. I like to use my bone folder just to give a nice, crisp, clean fold. Sometimes if you try and fold it on your own, you get a little bit of a rough edge. So I like to use the bone folder. So we'll put that aside for now. If you haven't noticed, I have henna on my hand, so that's what's on my hand. Don't get freaked out. Now I have 4 squares here. These are all different sizes, and I chose to use 2 different patterns. This is 3 inches by 3 inches. Then you have 2.5 by 2.5. 2 inches by 2 inches, and 1.5 by 1.5. You can use whatever patterns you like. I used the Merry Moments paper from Stampin' Up. Now, whichever side of the paper you want to show, you're going to put that face down on your table, and make sure the flat side is facing you. And then you're going to fold it up so that you line up the edges. And again, just make sure it's a nice clean line up and use the bone folder. Then you're going to open it up and turn it and fold it the same way on the other side. Then you're going to open it again. Now turn it towards you so the point is towards you, and you're going to fold it point to point, again using the bone folder. It's important to have nice clean lines for these folds. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, so you're going to turn it and fold it corner to corner. It doesn't have to be a perfect match. The most important thing is getting the nice crisp folds. So once that's done, you're going to open it up and make sure the flat side is towards you, and you're just going to pinch the sides in where the fold is. You're going to pinch it in and fold the top down so that you create a triangle. And again, use a bone folder to just make it nice and flat. Now you'll notice that on each side you have an extra fold. So you're going to take that and fold it towards the middle crease. You can feel it with your finger. So you're going to fold the end towards the center and just make sure the point is nice and pointy when you use your bone folder. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I like to make sure it's all nice and crisp. Now if you lift it up, you'll see that there's 2 separate openings. We don't want that big opening, so we're going to take a tape runner. I actually ran out of my Stampin' Up! Tape runner, so I'm just using a temporary adhesive right now. But you'll want to use something that's permanent, and just press it down so it's nice and flat. We do want that little opening though for later, and I'll show you what that's for later on. But you're going to do these same folds for all 3 squares. So once that's done, you're going to take your real red cardstock, cut it to a suitable size for the cover of the card, and then a very vanilla on top, just a bit smaller in size. And I'm going to take my Elmer's glue stick and just glue it onto the real red. Just make sure it's in the center. Now I'm going to line up the tree onto the very vanilla. Now you just want to kind of play with it, and the reason why we kept that opening is the base fits inside the peak of the one that's below it, so it gets a nice tree shape. And you're just going to play around with the layout at first. Make sure it fits nicely on the card because you want to leave room for your brad topper at the top. So once it's kind of where you want it to be, you're going to start gluing the tree onto it, starting with the biggest piece. You can use any adhesive that you prefer. And just make sure when you glue it on that you don't glue the tip on, because you're going to need that to fit the smaller piece on top. So just make sure that the tip is loose, it's not actually connected. And now I'm going to glue the rest of the pieces on. Just make sure it fits nicely. And you just slide it in that hole that was there. I just want to make sure it's center. Now here's a perfect time to have a glue eraser. I actually forgot mine, so I'm just going to rub it off. Now once you have your tree glued on, you're going to put on the brad. So I have my single hole punch, which you can get from Stampin' Up! As well. And you just want to line it up to the very tip of the tree. So if you're a little uncomfortable eyeballing it, you can always put a little pencil dot and line it up that way. But I'm just going to punch that. And then you're going to take your brad. This is a clear rhinestone brad. And put it through the paper. And then just flip it over, because you're going to fold the prongs open so that it lays nice and flat and it's nice and secure. So now we're going to start with the stamping. Here I have a stamp from the Priceless stamp set from Stampin' Up! And I'm going to use what's called Versamark. This is great for using when you're doing embossing. It's also really nice for creating a watermark on the page, which is what I'm going to use it for. So you just dab it on the pad a few times. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to line it up at the bottom of the card. Just make sure that there's enough room for it. And I'm going to kind of put the swirl hanging off the bottom of the card. If you're not comfortable eyeballing it, you can always use a Stamp-A-Majig, which helps you line it up perfectly. I know I used that a lot when I first started. So there I have my swirl design. So now I'm going to use a stamp from the Teeny Tiny Wishes, the Merry Christmas. And I'm going to use a classic stamp pad in basic black. And this is a perfect stamp. If you want to use embossing for it, you just put a powder and the Versamark on it. Otherwise, you can just use it on its own. And I'm just going to stamp it on top of the watermark. So I'm going to lightly stamp it on the pad a few times, just enough to cover the stamp. You don't want to go too crazy, otherwise it gets messy. And then again, I'm just going to eyeball it, but you can use the Stamp-A-Majig if you want. And I'm going to push that on there. I found the spot that I want it. And now I'm going to glue the tree onto the card. And again, you can use any adhesive you like. I'm just using my Elmer's glue stick. And it's okay if you push the tree down, because it'll just pop back up afterwards. It's not going to damage it. I'm just going to glue it on so it's nice and center. And this is a really easy card that you can do multiples of. It doesn't take too much time. It's really pretty. And you can even add a little bit of glitter on the trim if you want to, just to add a little bit of sparkle. And that's the Origami Christmas tree card. I hope you like it. Thanks for visiting CrystalAndAkiko.com.